Do not leave your documents near her. People who smell of frying oil and unpaid rent can develop very long fingers.
Laughter burst around the private dining room. Ronke Adebayo stood frozen, one hand gripping the silver tray. 38 guests watched her. Some smiled. Others lowered their eyes. Tayo leaned back in his cobalt blue suit. "Look at her shoes," he continued in Korean. "Even poverty is tired of following her." Ronke placed his teacup down, slowly. The spoon trembled against the saucer. Then she raised her eyes and answered, in flawless Korean, "Your tea has no sugar, sir. But your words did not need poison." Silence crashed into the room. One Korean executive dropped his spoon. Tayo's smile disappeared. And behind him, Kemi Williams went pale. Because minutes earlier, Ronke had overheard a secret about 73 electric buses, a hidden contract clause, and a decision that could put hundreds of lives in danger. Before we continue, do not miss what happened when this waitress finally revealed everything she knew. Subscribe now and tell us in the comments where you are listening from and your local time, because Tayo had just humiliated the one woman who could destroy his entire empire. At exactly 8:47 that Thursday night, the air inside Meridian Terrace smelled of grilled croquet, lemongrass, perfume, and money. The restaurant sat on the upper floor of a glass building in Victoria Island, where the windows looked over Lagos Lagoon, and the menus did not carry prices in bold. Guests came there to talk about mergers, elections, oil blocks, weddings, and contracts large enough to change the color of a family's future. The private hall had been prepared for Blue Harbor Mobility Nigeria and its Korean partner, Hansong Transit Systems. White orchids stood in narrow vases. Gold place cards rested beside crystal glasses. A screen at the front displayed a shining electric bus moving through an artist's clean version of Lagos traffic. No danfo blocked the road. No hawker ran between vehicles. No pothole appeared in the picture. Only progress. Ronke had been on her feet since 8:15 that morning. Her light blue shirt was still neat, though the collar had begun to soften from heat. Her burnt orange apron carried one small mark near the pocket, where pepper sauce had touched it during lunch service. Her black shoes were polished, but the leather had cracked around the toes. Those shoes had lasted 3 rainy seasons. They had crossed from Surulere to Victoria Island in buses that broke down under bridges. They had stood outside pharmacies, while Ronke compared the price of her father's blood pressure drugs. They had waited in corridors where employers looked at her unfinished degree and asked why somebody who spoke Korean wanted to carry plates. The shoes were tired. Ronke was more tired. Still, when Bode Coker, the restaurant manager, had called the staff together that afternoon, she had stood straight. "Tonight's guests are not ordinary," Bode had said, adjusting his black tie for the 5th time. "Blue Harbor is discussing a project of 18.7 billion naira. Their foreign partners are coming. Nobody should use this opportunity to disgrace me." Uzo George, the receptionist, had whispered beside Ronke, "So if spoon falls, na national debt." Ronke pressed her lips together to stop a laugh. Bode saw it. "You two. Hope no problem." "No problem, sir," they answered. "There had better be no problem. You, Ronke, will handle the inner room because you are fast. But keep your mouth shut. These people did not come here to hear the opinion of a waitress." Ronke nodded. She was used to that sentence in different clothes. At 7:06 p.m., the first members of the Korean delegation arrived. Their official interpreter, a smooth-faced Nigerian man in a grey suit, came with them. Kemi Williams followed 7 minutes later in a ruby-red trouser suit, carrying 2 leather folders and a tablet. Kemi did not walk into rooms. She entered them like she had purchased the floor. She was Blue Harbor's chief operating officer and head of strategic procurement. At 36, she had built a reputation for meeting impossible deadlines and silencing people who asked how she did it. Her lipstick was deep red. Her shoes made sharp sounds against the tiles. Tayo arrived at 7:31. The room shifted around him. He was 41, tall, clean-shaven, and handsome in the disciplined way money often made a man look. His cobalt blue suit fitted him as if the cloth had been warned not to misbehave. 2 assistants followed him. So did 3 board members and a photographer. Tayo Balagan, Uzo whispered near the service door. This man built Blue Harbor from 6 delivery vans. So they say, Ronka replied. You have seen him before? Only online. He lived in Korea, Busan. 6 years. Uzo turned to stare at her. See as you know his history. I read. You read everybody? Only people who may shout at me before the night ends. Uzo nearly laughed again. Ronki did not say she had also read Blue Harbor's public announcement about the 73 electric buses. She did not say she had spent 2 evenings looking up Hanseong Transit Systems because their name appeared in Korean business news. She did not say she still studied every night from 11 p.m. until her eyes could no longer hold the words. Knowledge was the only property nobody had succeeded in taking from her. The dinner began smoothly. Ronke served pumpkin soup, grilled prawns, jollof arancini, and sea bass with ginger sauce. She moved quietly, watching glasses and listening for requests. Tayo switched between English and Korean with confidence. His everyday Korean was easy and charming. He joked about Busan rain. He praised kimchi. He remembered the name of a seaside market. The guests liked him. But when the discussion turned to battery modules, warranty exposure, and thermal barriers, his language became less certain. He smiled more. He spoke faster. He allowed the interpreter to carry the heavy parts. Ronke noticed. She also noticed something else. At 8:12 p.m., one of the Korean engineers asked for the seafood sauce to be removed from his plate. The interpreter waved the request aside, saying the man was only being particular. Ronke saw the allergy card beside his place setting, shellfish. She stopped the plate before it reached him. Sir, she said quietly in Korean, this sauce contains dried crayfish. Please allow me to replace the dish. The engineer's eyes widened. You speak Korean? A little, sir. Her little was polite. Nothing more. She took the plate away before anybody could make a scene. In the kitchen, she told the chef to use a clean pan and new utensils. 12 minutes later, she returned with another meal. The engineer thanked her twice. Kemi watched from the other side of the table. Her face did not move. At 8:24, Kemi stepped into the narrow passage beside the private room with the official interpreter. Ronke was behind the service curtain, arranging a tray of tea. Kemi spoke in Korean. Her grammar was stiff but understandable. Keep the adjusted English copy as it is, she said. The chairman will sign tomorrow morning. The interpreter lowered his voice. The Korean technical team has marked the insulation layer as compulsory. Then do not translate that note as compulsory. The wording is direct. Call it an optional protection package. That is not the same thing. Kemi's voice sharpened. You are being paid because things do not always need to be the same thing. Ronki's fingers stopped over the teacups. The interpreter glanced toward the service curtain. Ronki bent her head and moved one cup, then another, allowing the porcelain to make a normal sound. Kemi continued. Remove the thermal separation requirement from the English appendix. Do not let Tayo know, the technical people objected. Once the first payment is released, the local supplier will handle the rest. The interpreter swallowed. And the 7-year warranty. 2 years in the English copy. The Korean master can remain 7. Nobody here reads Korean legal documents. Ronki felt the skin along her arms tighten. She understood the words. But understanding words was not the same as understanding the whole contract. She knew enough to know that thermal separation in a battery system was not decoration. She also knew she was standing behind a curtain, with no recording, no document, and no authority. One wrong accusation could finish her. Kemi walked back into the room. The interpreter followed. Ronke waited 6 seconds before lifting the tray. When she entered, Kemi's eyes met hers. Only for a moment. That moment was enough. The next 20 minutes passed under a thin layer of tension. Tayo laughed loudly. Board members discussed launch dates. The screen showed smiling commuters boarding blue and white buses that did not yet exist. Ronke served the tea. She began with the Korean guests, then the Nigerian directors. When she reached Tayo, his assistant moved a folder aside. Ronki placed the cup near his right hand. Tayo looked down at her shoes. Then he smiled, not at her, at the table. He spoke in Korean, so the Nigerian staff would not understand. Do not leave your documents near her. People who smell of frying oil and unpaid rent can develop very long fingers. Laughter came from 2 executives who wanted Tayo to like them. One Korean guest gave a weak smile, because he was not sure whether he had understood correctly. The engineer Ronki had protected from the shellfish did not laugh. Ronki's grip tightened on the tray. Tayo continued. Look at her shoes. Even poverty is tired of following her. A heat rose behind Ronki's eyes. She remembered her father sitting by the window at home, trying to lift a spoon with a hand that no longer obeyed him. She remembered selling her laptop to pay hospital bills. She remembered the university administrator telling her that her place could not be held forever. She remembered every person who had spoken around her, as if hardship had made her deaf. Ronki placed the cup down. Slowly, the spoon trembled against the saucer. Your tea has no sugar, sir, she said in Korean, but your words did not need poison. The room died. The interpreter's lips parted. A spoon slipped from one guest's hand and hit the floor with a bright metallic sound. Tayo stared at Ronke. You speak Korean? He asked in English. Ronke held his gaze. Yes, sir. How much did you hear? The question came too quickly. Kemi turned her face toward him. Ronke noticed. I heard what you said to me, Ronke replied. A faint color entered Tayo's cheeks. Then you should also understand that staff are not permitted to interrupt private conversations. I did not interrupt your conversation, sir. I answered an insult directed at me. One board member shifted in his chair. Tayo gave a short laugh, but there was no humor inside it. You see, this is what happens when people do not know their level. Somebody carries a tray for 3 months, learns a few foreign sentences from television, and suddenly she wants to lecture business leaders. Ronki's heart beat against her ribs. I have worked here for 19 months, sir. That makes it worse. He turned toward Bode, who had hurried into the room after hearing the spoon fall. Manager, yes, sir. Remove her. Bode's eyes moved from Tayo to Ronki. Ronk, come outside. I have not done anything wrong. Bode lowered his voice. Do not make it worse. Tayo leaned back again. She already made it worse when she forgot that serving successful people does not make her one of them. The words landed harder than the first insult. Ronke looked around the table. Some people watched her with embarrassment. Some watched with interest. The Korean engineer gave a small shake of his head, as if he wanted to say something, but did not know whether he should interfere. Kemi said nothing. Her fingers rested on the leather folder, too still. Ronke removed the orange apron from around her waist. She folded it once and placed it over her arm. Sir, she said to Tayo, a person can be wrong in any language. Then she followed Bode out. The door closed behind them. Bode waited until they reached the service corridor before turning on her. "Are you mad?" Ronka blinked. "Sir, do you know who that man is?" "Yes. Then why are you using your mouth to fight your salary?" "He insulted me." "And so, has insult ever killed anybody?" Ronke looked at him. Bode waved one hand. "Go and change." 19 months. Educational background. Bode hesitated. She attended university. Languages, I think. She did not finish. Korean? I did not know until tonight. Kemi's eyes narrowed. Does she have access to the private room before guests arrive? All assigned staff do. Personal lockers? Yes. Kemi looked down the passage where Ronki had disappeared. Make sure she does not leave yet. Bode frowned. Hope no problem, Ma. Kemi smiled. It was a small smile. There may be a very serious problem. Inside the private hall, Tayo tried to restart the conversation. So, he said in Korean, lifting his cup, as I was saying, tomorrow we begin a new chapter in urban transport. But his pronunciation slipped on the next sentence. The engineer who had dropped his spoon did not correct him. Nobody laughed this time. Ronka changed in the staff room with slow hands. She folded the light blue shirt and orange apron into her bag. Underneath, she wore a plain cream blouse and a dark skirt. She removed her name badge and placed it on the bench. Her locker contained a small umbrella, 2 sachets of pain medicine, a notebook, a phone charger, and a food flask she had not opened. She took the notebook out. On the last page, she wrote the time. 8:24 p. M. Adjusted English copy. Thermal separation requirement removed. 7-year warranty changed to 2. Do not let Tayo know. She underlined the final sentence. Her hand shook once. Then she closed the book. At 9:19 p.m., while Ronki sat outside Bode's office, a woman entered Meridian Terrace alone. She was 59, small-framed, and dressed in an ivory blouse beneath a beige coat. Her black rolling suitcase had a scratched corner. No security detail surrounded her. No assistant announced her name. Uzo looked up from reception. Good evening, Ma. Do you have a reservation? The woman replied in Korean. Uzo's professional smile weakened. One moment, Ma. She turned toward the nearest waiter, but he was carrying drinks. Bode was still inside his office with Kemi. The official interpreter remained in the private hall. The woman tried English. Reservation, Han. Uzo checked the screen. I cannot see only Han, Ma. What is the full name? A swim sergeant inside her bag for her phone. Her expression tightened. Ronka heard the exchange. She stood. Can I help? Uzo looked toward Bode's closed door. You are supposed to wait. She cannot understand. Ronke walked to the woman and spoke in Korean. Good evening, Ma. My name is Ronke. May I see the reservation message? Relief softened the woman's face. My phone battery is dead. I was told somebody would meet me here. What name should be on the booking? Han Seo Yeon. Ronka turned to Uzo. Please check Han Seo Yeon, maybe under the company booking. Uzo typed again, her eyes widened. It is inside the delegation list. VIP lounge. But the note says, arrival tomorrow morning. The woman sighed. My flight changed. Ronke translated. Uzo pointed toward a chair near reception. Please let her wait there. The woman sat. She pressed 2 fingers to her temple. Ronke noticed a small medicine pouch inside the open handbag. Ma, are you feeling well? My blood pressure medicine. I left it in the car. Which car? The airport car. I think it is gone. Ronke asked Uzo for the number used to arrange the pickup. Uzo found it in the booking note. Ronke called, explained the situation, and learned that the driver was still less than 1 kilometer away because of traffic. He is returning, Ronke told the woman. Thank you. Would you like water? Yes, warm, please. Ronke went to the service station and brought warm water on a small tray. Bode came out of his office just as she handed it over. His face darkened. "Ronke, what did I tell you?" "She is part of the delegation, sir. Are you still working here?" Ronke looked at him. "You told me to wait, then wait. Do not carry this stubbornness on your head." The woman watched the exchange. Understanding only the tone, she asked Ronke in Korean, "Are you in trouble?" Ronke forced a small smile. "I am managing, Ma." The driver returned with the medicine at 9:37. Ronke checked the label with the woman and asked whether she needed food before taking it. The woman said yes. The kitchen had nearly closed the regular menu, so Ronke requested plain rice, grilled vegetables, and a small bowl of soup without too much salt. Bode blocked her near the kitchen entrance. "You are finished here. She needs food with her medicine. Then Uzo can handle it." "Uzo has guests at reception." Bode leaned closer. "You think because you spoke one Korean sentence everybody should clap for you? Go and sit down before I call security." Ronke stared at him for 2 seconds. Then she stepped aside. Uzo had heard. She picked up the order herself. When the meal arrived, Ronke explained each dish to Han Seo-yeon. The woman ate slowly. She asked Ronke where she had learned Korean. "At Lagos State University first," Ronke said. "Then evening classes, online lessons, Korean news, anything I could find." "You studied at university?" "Yes, Ma." "What happened?" "My father had a stroke. School fees became medicine money." The woman paused with her spoon halfway to her mouth. "I am sorry." "No need, Ma. He is alive. That is what matters." "Will you return?" "To school?" "Yes." Ronke looked down at her cracked shoes. "One day." The woman studied her face. "You translate well. I understand business language better than I speak it. Legal and technical documents are different. They need certification. You know your limit. I know the cost of pretending not to have one." For the first time that night, Han Seo-yeon smiled fully. From the corridor, Kemi saw them speaking. Her jaw tightened. At 9:52, Kemi returned to Bode's office. "Manager, I believe a confidential USB drive is missing from our private room." Bode's face changed. "Missing?" "It contains procurement documents. Nobody leaves this building until we find it." Ronke heard every word. She stood slowly. Kemi turned toward her. Their eyes met again. This time, Kemi smiled, and Ronke understood that the insult at the table had only been the beginning. Kemi did not raise her voice. She did not need to. The word confidential moved through Meridian Terrace faster than fire through dry grass. 2 security officers came from the lobby. Bode locked the staff entrance. The remaining waiters stopped clearing tables and began looking at one another. Uzo whispered, "Which kind of USB can disappear when all these big men are still sitting inside?" Ronke did not answer. She was watching Kemi. The chief operating officer held her ruby red jacket closed with one hand. The other hand rested against her tablet. Her breathing was calm. Too calm for somebody who had just lost documents worth billions of naira. Bode cleared his throat. "Madam, let us search the private hall first." "We have searched." "The guests?" Kemi's eyes hardened. "You want me to ask directors and foreign partners to empty their pockets because your staff cannot control themselves?" Bode's shoulders dropped. "No, Ma." "Then search the people who served the room." One of the security officers looked uncomfortable. "Sir, we need consent or proper authorization before searching personal bags." Bode turned on him. "Did I ask for legal lecture? A company device is missing." Ronke stepped forward. "My bag can be searched in my presence." Kemi looked at her. "Very cooperative. I have nothing to hide. Everybody says that before something is found." Ronke felt Uzo touch her elbow. "Do not agree to anything anyhow," Uzo murmured. "I will be there." Bode ordered the workers to line up beside the service corridor. Bags were opened on a stainless steel table. Pockets were emptied. Receipts, phone chargers, combs, sachets of paracetamol, perfume bottles, and transport change appeared beneath the bright kitchen light. Nothing. Kemi tapped one fingernail against her tablet. Lockers. Bode took a ring of keys from his pocket. Ronke frowned. Sir, why do you have the master key with you? Bode did not meet her eyes. It is my duty. Since when? Ronk, keep quiet. Uzo looked from Bode to Kemi. The first locker held a spare shirt and a pair of sandals. The second held a Bible, chewing gum, and a plastic container. The third belonged to Uzo. She watched as Bode opened it and pushed aside a lilac cardigan. The fourth belonged to Ronke. Bode inserted the key. A sharp sound came from the lock. Ronke's mouth went dry. She knew what was about to happen before the metal door opened. Her umbrella stood at the left. The food flask was at the bottom. The notebook was gone because it was inside her bag. A black USB drive rested on top of the folded orange apron. Nobody spoke. Bode reached for it. Do not touch it, Ronke said. His hand stopped. Kemi lifted her eyebrows. Why? You recognize it? No, but if it is evidence, it should be photographed where it was found. The security officer nodded. She is correct. Bode squeezed his face. So now Waitress has become police? She is correct, the officer repeated. Kemi's eyes flickered. A photograph was taken. The drive was placed in a small transparent bag normally used for lost property. Ronke requested that the time be written down. 10 to 8 p.m. Bode wrote it reluctantly. Kemi folded her arms. Only 4 people had direct access to the files in that drive. It vanished after this woman was caught listening to private conversations. I was not caught listening, Ronke said. I was serving your table. You answered a conversation in Korean because your CEO was speaking about me. You admit you understood what was being said around you. Yes. Kemi smiled. Thank you. Ronke's stomach twisted. There it was. A truth had been turned into a rope. Han Seo-yeon stood from her chair. She spoke in Korean, asking what was happening. Ronke translated quietly. A storage device was found in my locker. They say I stole it. The woman looked from Ronke to Kemi. Did you? No, ma. The answer came without drama. Han Seo-yeon nodded once. Kemi moved closer. Madam, this is an internal security matter. Please return to the VIP lounge. We will arrange your hotel transport. Han replied in English now, each word careful. I will remain. Kemi's expression tightened. There is no need. I said I will remain. The authority inside the woman's voice did not match her scratched suitcase. Kemi studied her, perhaps trying to place her face. Then she looked away. Bode told one security officer to call the police. Ronke's chest tightened, but she kept her voice steady. Before anybody comes, please preserve the corridor camera, the private room camera, the locker corridor, the entrance log, and the key register. Bode laughed in disbelief. See this girl? Sir, if you believe I stole something, those records will help you. The camera near the lockers was off this evening, Kemi said. Ronke turned toward her. How do you know? For the first time, Kemi answered too slowly. Because our delegation requested privacy around the service area. The service area is not inside your private room. The request covered adjoining corridors. Who approved it? Bode slapped one palm against the table. Enough. You are the accused person. Stop questioning the customer. The word accused settled over Ronke like dust. Han Seo-yeon's gaze moved to Bode's key ring. Who opened locker before now? She asked in English. Nobody, Bode said. Uzo shifted beside Ronke. The movement was small. Ronke felt it. At 10:43 p.m., 2 police officers arrived. They listened to Kemi. They listened to Bode. They listened to Ronke. One officer asked whether Kemita had serial numbers for the USB, proof of ownership, or a list of files stored on it. Kemi produced an email describing a missing black drive. The officer looked at the device through the plastic. This kind USB is everywhere. It contains confidential company records. Have you opened it? No. We preserved it. Good. Then nobody will open it here. He asked Ronk whether she had handled the drive. No, sir. Fingerprints may not help on this surface, but we will record statements. Since there is no direct witness and no confirmed contents, we are not arresting anybody tonight. Kemi's head snapped toward him. Officer, this woman had motive and access. What motive? She was publicly corrected by our CEO. Ronky stared at her. Publicly corrected. That was how rich people washed cruelty. They changed the name and expected the stain to disappear. The officer rubbed his jaw. Madam, being insulted is not evidence of theft. Tayo entered the corridor at that moment. The dinner had ended. His foreign guests were being escorted through another exit. He had removed his jacket and folded it over one arm, but the confidence in his face had returned. What is delaying everybody? Kemi told him. Tayo looked at Ronke as though a suspicion had just confirmed itself. I knew it. Ronke's throat tightened. You knew what, sir? That you were not simply serving tea. I did not steal anything. A person can learn a few Korean sentences, but poverty still exposes character. The officer glanced at Tayo. Sir, let us not conclude before investigation. Tayo ignored him. You embarrassed me before my partners, then confidential data appeared in your locker. What exactly should I think? Think about the evidence. His eyebrows lifted. You are giving me instructions? I am asking you to check the creation time of the files. Check whether the drive has ever touched my phone or any computer connected to me. Check who entered this corridor. Check the master key record. Bode looked away. Ronke saw it. Sir, she continued, if I wanted to sell company information, why would I leave the device on top of my apron in a locker your manager can open? Tayo's jaw tightened. Kemi stepped in. That is exactly what a clever thief would say. Ronke faced her. And what would a clever person planting evidence say? The corridor went still. Kemi took one step forward. Mind yourself. Did you enter the staff area tonight? Bode barked. Ronk, did you? Kemi's voice dropped. You are trying to shift attention from yourself. Han Seo Yeon watched every face. Tayo pointed at Ronke's bag. Manager, she will not return to this restaurant. Pay whatever is legally required and remove her details from future shifts. Bode swallowed. Yes, sir. Ronke turned to him. My salary for this month is due tomorrow. You caused reputational damage, Bode said quickly. There will be deductions. You cannot deduct my entire salary without a written basis. Go and bring a lawyer. I may. Bode laughed. With which money? Uzo flinched. The officer wrote something in his notebook. Ronke picked up her bag. Her hands had become cold, but her back remained straight. May I take my belongings from the locker? Not until the investigation is complete, Bode said. My umbrella and food flask are not evidence. Everything stays. Han Seo Yeon walked toward Ronke. Where will you go? She asked in Korean. Home. Do you have transport? Ronke looked at the time. It was 11:17 p.m. The last direct bus to her area would be difficult to find. I will manage. Han reached for her handbag. Ronke shook her head. No, Ma. I did not ask whether you need charity. I know. But no. The woman considered her for a moment, then handed her a plain business card instead. Only a name and a Korean phone number appeared on it. Han Seo Yeon. Call when your mind is calm, she said. Ronke accepted the card. Kemi watched. Tayo did not. He had already turned away. Outside Meridian Terrace, Lagos had not paused for Ronke's disgrace. Cars crawled along the road. Horns argued with one another. A man sold bottled water between lanes. Music came from a vehicle parked beside the pavement. The lagoon reflected broken pieces of city light. Ronke walked for 9 minutes before she found a bus heading towards CMS. From there, she entered another bus to Ojuelegba and took a KK for the final distance. She reached home at 12:38 a.m. Her father was awake in the small sitting room. The television showed an old football match with the volume low. His left hand rested on his thigh. The right one, weakened by the stroke, curled near his chest. "You are late," he said. His words came slowly, but they came. Ronke forced herself to smile. "Big event. You ate?" "Yes." It was a lie. He looked at her feet, then at the bag without the orange apron showing from the top. "What happened?" Ronke sat beside him. For 3 minutes she said nothing. Her father did not rush her. That kindness broke the wall. She told him about Tayo's insult. She told him how she answered. She told him about the USB. She did not tell him the full size of her fear. When she finished, he breathed out slowly. "Did you steal it?" Ronke stared at him. He lifted his stronger hand. "I know you did not, but I want you to hear your own answer. No again. I did not steal it. Then do not carry another person's shame as your own." Her eyes filled. "They will tell everybody. Truth can walk slowly," he said. "But lie cannot sleep forever." Ronke wiped her face with both hands. "I have lost the job. We have survived worse. The rent is due in 11 days. We will face 11 days when 11 days come." She laughed once through her tears. "You always say things as if hunger respects calendar. Hunger has been respecting me since this stroke. It knows I am older." Ronke laughed again. The sound was weak, but it was alive. After helping him to bed, she sat at the small table near the window. She opened her notebook and returned to the words she had written. Thermal separation, insulation layer, warranty, local supplier. She switched on her old phone and searched through downloaded Korean dictionaries because her data balance was almost finished. She found the exact term Kemi had used. It referred to a barrier designed to slow the spread of heat between battery modules. Ronke read 3 saved articles. One described a depot fire abroad where thermal propagation had moved from one module to another. Another explained that different battery designs used different protections. The third warned against treating safety layers as optional without engineering approval. Ronke sat back. She was not an engineer. She would not pretend to be one. But Kemi had said, "Do not let Tayo know the technical people objected." That was not ordinary negotiation. At 1:56 a.m., Ronke wrote a detailed account of the evening. She included exact times, locations, phrases, and the names of people present. She emailed a copy to herself and another to a new address she created for backup. Then she took a photograph of every page. At 2:23, she finally lay down. Sleep refused to come. Across Lagos, in a penthouse overlooking the water, Tayo poured himself a drink. His phone carried 12 messages about the dinner. Most praised the presentation. 2 mentioned the uncomfortable incident with the waitress. One board member wrote, "We should handle the optics carefully." Optics, not conduct. Tayo opened a voice note from Kemi. "The situation is contained. The drive is with the police. Bode will terminate her employment in the morning. I recommend we proceed with the technical appendix as planned. Delays may affect the launch date." Tayo listened twice. He remembered Ronke's Korean. The grammar had been clean. The pronunciation was not like somebody repeating lines from a television drama. She had understood the insult immediately. For one uncomfortable second, he wondered what else she had understood. Then pride answered for him. If she had heard anything important, she would have said it. And if she said it now, people would assume she was trying to revenge. Tayo finished his drink. At 7:20 the next morning, Kemi entered Blue Harbor's office before most staff arrived. She used her access card to enter procurement records, opened the email account connected to the contract review, and deleted 2 messages from the Korean technical team. One carried a red warning flag. The other contained a marked-up appendix. She emptied the deleted folder. Then she called the interpreter.
Did you clean your side?
Yes, the waitress may speak. Who will believe her? Kemi looked through the glass wall at the city below. That depends on whether we leave her with a voice. By 9:05 a.m., Boda had sent Ronka a termination letter through WhatsApp. It stated that her employment had ended due to gross misconduct, insubordination, violation of guest privacy, and suspected theft of confidential property. Her salary was withheld pending investigation. At 9:41, 2 other restaurants received an informal warning from Bode that Ronka was high risk. At 10:12, Uzo entered Bode's office. "Sir, I want to ask something." Bode did not look up. Ask. Why was the camera off? Client privacy. And why did Madam Kemi enter the locker corridor before the USB was reported missing? Bode's pen stopped. Uzo felt her mouth go dry. He lifted his head slowly. "What did you see? I saw her follow you there." "You saw nothing." "Sir, you saw nothing, Uzo." His voice had changed. She swallowed. "But if police ask, do you like this job?" "Yes, sir." "Are you still paying that cooperative loan?" Uzo's fingers tightened around one another. Bode leaned back. Then face reception. "Do not put your nose inside a matter that can remove food from your mouth." Uzo left the office with shame pressing against her chest. At noon, Han Seo-yeon sat inside her hotel suite with the official program for the next day's contract event open before her. She had not come to Lagos as a disguised billionaire searching for a good heart. Her arrival had changed because of a cancelled connection on Addis Ababa. The driver had taken her to Meridian Terrace because she believed her delegation would still be there. Chance had placed her in that reception area, but what she saw was not chance. She had watched a manager insult a worker who was helping her. She had watched a senior executive speak as if accusation was proof. She had watched Ronke request preservation of evidence while the people with authority tried to rush past procedure. Han opened the project folder. At the top of the organization chart was her title, Chairwoman, Han Seong Transit Systems. Her late husband had founded the company 32 years earlier. After his death, many investors expected her to become a ceremonial figure. She spent 4 years proving that she could read engineering reports, challenge suppliers, and remove executives who confused loyalty with silence. She called the head of legal affairs in Seoul. "Do not approve the English technical appendix," she said. "Madam Chairwoman, the signing is tomorrow." "I know. Has a defect been identified?" "A discrepancy may exist. Commission an independent comparison between the Korean master and every English version sent to Blue Harbor." "How urgent?" "Immediate." She ended the call and looked at Ronke's number, which she had asked Uzo to write down before leaving the restaurant. She did not call yet. She wanted facts first. At 2:34 p.m., Ronka received an email from Meridian Terrace stating that her final salary remained frozen. At 3:08, she received a call from a restaurant in Lekki where she had submitted an application 3 weeks earlier. "Madam," the caller said, "we heard there is an issue with your current employer. There is an allegation. It has not been proven. We cannot take the risk." The call ended. At 4:17, a second restaurant cancelled an interview scheduled for Monday. At 5:06, Ronke stood inside a pharmacy counting money on her palm. Her father's medicine cost 11,600 naira. She had 9,400. She asked the pharmacist to remove one item and bought enough tablets for 6 days. Outside, rain began to fall. Her umbrella was still inside the locked staff locker. Ronke stood under the pharmacy awning while water struck the road. People rushed past. A bus sprayed dirty water over the pavement. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Hello? A woman spoke in Korean. Ronke Adebayo? Yes, ma. This is Han Seo Yeon. Are you somewhere safe to talk? Ronke looked at the rain. Yes. I need to ask you one question. Yesterday, before the USB was reported missing, did you hear any conversation concerning the bus contract? Ronke went still. The noise of Lagos seemed to move farther away. She tightened her fingers around the medicine bag. Yes, ma, she said. I heard something. How much? Enough to be worried. There was a pause. Then Han Seo-yeon said, Do not tell me what you think it means. Tell me the exact words. And for the first time since the insult, somebody powerful asked Ronke to speak, without first deciding that her voice was a problem. Ronke did not speak quickly. She repeated the conversation exactly as she remembered it, first in Korean, then in English. She separated what Kemi had said from what the interpreter had said. When she reached the words about thermal separation, she stopped. I need to be clear, Ma. I understand the language. I am not qualified to give an engineering opinion. I did not ask for one, and I have not seen the document. I understand. I do not want somebody to say I made a safety claim from one conversation. Han Seo-yeon was silent for a moment. Then she said, That is why I called you. Ronke leaned against the pharmacy wall. Who are you, Ma? My company is part of the contract. Which part? The Korean part. Ronke closed her eyes. You are not only a member of the delegation. No. Are you their legal advisor? No technical director? No. Another pause. I chair the company. The medicine bag slipped in Ronke's hand. She caught it before it fell. You are Madam Han Seo-yeon? Yes. The chairwoman? Yes. Ronke looked at the rain as if it had changed direction. Ma, I did not know. That is why your kindness meant something. But kindness is not evidence, Ronke. We must keep the two separate. I agree. I have ordered an independent document comparison. I also want your written account, with dates and times. Send it to the address I will text you. Do not edit your original notes. Preserve your photographs and email headers. Ronke listened carefully. Will Tayo know? Not yet. Why? Because if there is manipulation inside his company, warning him before evidence is secured may warn the wrong person. Ronke thought of Kemi's calm face. Yes, Ma. And Ronke. Yes. Do not meet anybody alone about this. Not Blue Harbor. Not the restaurant. Not the media. Ronke looked at the traffic moving through rain. Media? You may become useful to people who care more about scandal than truth. Han's warning arrived one day before the offer. The next afternoon, a popular Lagos blogger sent Ronke a message on Instagram. I heard what happened at Meridian Terrace. CEO insulted you in Korean and framed you. I can pay 150,000 naira for exclusive video. We go make them regret. Ronke stared at the amount. 150,000 naira could cover the rent, medicine, food, and transport. It could return some air to the house. She typed, What video? The reply came at once. Tell the story on camera. Say the contract is dangerous. Say Blue Harbor wants to bring buses that can catch fire. We will trend it. Ronke's thumb stopped over the screen. She had no verified report. She had one overheard conversation. She had not seen the bus. She had not seen the contract. If she exaggerated, Kemi would use the exaggeration to bury everything true. Ronke typed, I cannot claim what I have not verified. The blogger replied with a laughing emoji. My sister, truth no day trend unless you package am. Ronke blocked the account. Then she sat at the edge of her bed and cried for 10 minutes, because integrity did not buy medicine. The following week tested her more than the night at Meridian Terrace. On Monday, She attended an interview at a small restaurant near Yaba. The owner liked her experience until he called Bode for a reference. He returned to the table with a colder face. "We will get back to you." They did not. On Wednesday, a hotel in Ikeja asked her to leave after security recognized the allegation circulating in a hospitality manager's WhatsApp group. On Friday, she spent 3 hours traveling to Lekki for an interview that had been cancelled without notice. At home, her father tried to hide how many tablets remained in his medicine packet. Ronki counted them anyway. "Why did you skip yesterday afternoon?" "I forgot." "You do not forget." He looked away. She sat beside him. "Please do not manage medicine for me. And you should not manage food for me." They looked at each other. Neither had the strength to lie well. That night, Ronke drafted an email to Blue Harbor's compliance address. She wrote only facts. She included the date, the time, the location, the exact Korean phrases, and a warning that the English technical appendix might not match the Korean source. She did not mention Kemi's alleged motive. She did not use the word corruption. She did not claim the buses would catch fire. She asked for acknowledgement of receipt. The email entered Blue Harbor's central system at 11:18 p.m. At 8:03 the next morning, an automated filter routed it to strategic procurement because it contained the project code. At 8:17, Kemi opened it. At 8:19, she deleted it. At 8:22, she instructed the Information Technology Administrator to change the routing rule for future messages containing Ronki's email address, describing them as harassment from a dismissed restaurant worker. At 8:31, she called Tayo. "We need to accelerate the vehicle trial." Tayo was driving to a meeting. The engineering team asked for 2 more weeks. They are being cautious because of liability language. 1 demonstration unit can be tested on Tuesday. Is the local configuration ready? Yes. The battery package? Ready. The Korean side? They have sent statement comments, nothing that affects the trial. Tayo frowned. Madam Han has delayed signature on the appendix. Administrative issue. She arrived early and became distracted by what happened at the restaurant. You spoke to her? Her office. Tayo's grip tightened on the steering wheel. That waitress told her something. Probably a dramatic story about being oppressed. She speaks better Korean than she admitted. Kemi laughed softly. Tayo, do not allow a woman carrying plates to make you doubt your own executive team. The sentence touched the exact wound she intended. Tayo's doubt retreated. Proceed with Tuesday, he said. At noon that same day, Han Seo Yeon's local lawyer called Ronke and arranged a meeting in a quiet office in Ikoyi. He explained that the conversation would be documented, that Ronke could leave at any time, and that she was not being offered employment in exchange for testimony. Ronke arrived 20 minutes early. She wore her cream blouse, a navy skirt, and the cracked black shoes. In her bag were printed copies of her notes, screenshots of the termination letter, and the business card Han had given her. Han joined by secure video from another room in the hotel. A single page appeared on the table. It was written in Korean. Translate the meaning, the lawyer said. Do not try to produce legal wording. Mark any term you cannot confirm. Ronke read the first paragraph twice. It described a heat-resistant separation layer between battery modules. The layer was required for the configuration, intended for high-temperature, high-density urban operation. The document stated that removal required fresh testing and written engineering approval. Ronke underlined 2 technical terms. I understand the general meaning, she said. But these 2 should be checked by a battery engineer. The next paragraph described a 7-year performance warranty under defined charging conditions. The final paragraph carried a note. Local procurement has requested alternative assembly. Technical division does not approve omission of thermal barrier without validation test. Ronka's mouth went dry. These are the words I heard them discussing. The lawyer placed an English page beside it. The same section described the thermal barrier as an optional enhanced safety accessory, available at additional cost. The warranty was 2 years. Ronka looked up. They are not the same document. Can you sign a certified translation? The lawyer asked. No. Why? I am not certified, even if the meaning is clear, especially because the meaning is important. Han Seo-yeon's voice came through the speaker. Thank you. Ronka turned toward the screen. Han continued. A certified translator and 2 engineers are reviewing it. This was not a test to catch you. It was to see whether your account aligned with a document you had never seen. It does. Yes. Ronke stared at the 2 pages. How did the English version change? We are tracing that. What happens now? We preserve evidence. We confirm authorship. We compare every file version. The signing? Postponed publicly for scheduling reasons. Ronka looked down. Kemi will know somebody is checking. She already knows something is wrong. Then she may destroy records. That is why the legal hold was issued this morning. For the first time in days, Ronka felt a small measure of relief. It did not last. At 3:46 p.m., her phone rang. Bowed, she let it ring twice before answering. Hello, sir. Where are you? That is not your concern anymore. Do not be rude. Police want clarification. Which station? Which officer? Bode paused. Come to the restaurant, and we will discuss. No. You think this your foreign language will save you. I think a written invitation will protect both of us. Ronk, do not bite the hand that used to feed you. The hand withheld my salary. He breathed heavily into the phone. You have been contacting Blue Harbor. Ronki said nothing. So it is true. Who told you? Leave this matter. That company can destroy you. Did Madam Kemi enter the locker corridor before the USB was found? Bode went quiet. Sir, you are confused. Did you open my locker for her? The line ended. Ronke saved the call log and wrote down the conversation. On Tuesday morning, Blue Harbor's demonstration yard in Apapa prepared for the vehicle trial. The location was a fenced industrial compound near the port, large enough for the electric bus to accelerate, brake, turn, and complete simulated loading cycles. Engineers had placed temperature sensors along the battery enclosure. Fire safety equipment stood nearby. The test was controlled, not ceremonial, but Taddeo invited a media team to capture footage for the launch campaign. He wanted momentum. Kemi wanted the test completed before the independent review reached him. Han Seo-yeon received notice of the trial at 6:52 a.m. from a Korean engineer who had been asked to attend. She called Ronke at 7:04. I need language support at the yard, Han said. Temporary. Paid through counsel. You will not interpret legal conclusions. Only direct communication. Ronke hesitated. Tayo will be there, yes. Kemi too. Yes. Do they know I am coming? No. Ronke looked at her father, who sat at the table drinking tea. He saw the fear in her face. Go, he said. She covered the phone. You did not hear the question. I heard your silence. Ronke returned to the call. I will come. She arrived at 9:36 wearing safety boots, borrowed through Han's legal team, dark trousers, a pale blue shirt, and a reflective vest. Her orange scarf made her easy to identify among the gray coveralls. The demonstration bus stood in the center of the yard. It was 12 meters long, blue and white, with Blue Harbor's logo already fixed near the front. The body looked clean and modern. Cameras moved around it. A presenter rehearsed lines about quieter streets and cleaner air. Ronke saw Tayo near the charging station. His cobalt suit had been replaced by a dark blue field jacket, but the same confidence surrounded him. Kemi stood beside him in an emerald green suit beneath a reflective vest. When Kemi saw Ronke, the color left her face for half a second. Teo's reaction was anger. "What is she doing here?" Han's lawyer answered. "She is providing language support to Madame Han's technical observers." Teo looked at Ronke. "You are now following our project." Ronke kept her voice calm. "I was invited." "By whom?" A black vehicle stopped near the administration building. Han Seo-yeon stepped out. This time she wore a structured ivory suit with gold edging. 2 senior representatives followed her. The Korean engineers bowed slightly when she approached. Tayo stared. The woman from the restaurant walked past him without stopping. "Madam Han," he said. She turned. "Mr. Balagun, you are the chairwoman, yes?" Tayo glanced toward Ronke, then back at Han. "I was not informed you would attend." "I was not informed a vehicle using a disputed configuration would be tested." Kemi stepped in. "Madam, there is no dispute. Only a translation clarification." Han looked at her. He thanked investors. He thanked the city officials. He thanked Kemi for driving procurement through a difficult market. Kemi smiled. Then he turned toward the Korean side and delivered a short greeting in Korean. The grammar was smooth. Ronke listened from the rear wall. There had been a time when she would have admired it. Now she understood that language could decorate a man without correcting him. Tayo ended his speech to another round of applause. The master of ceremonies invited the parties to the signing table. Tayo sat. Kemi moved closer to the stage. A staff member placed the final appendix before him. He uncapped the pen. "Please hold." The voice came from the central aisle. Madame Han Seo-yeon entered the hall. "Silence, sir." "Kemi asked me to open the locker area." "Did she touch my locker?" I stepped away to answer a call. "For how long?" "Maybe 90 seconds. "Did she have the master key?" Bode breathed heavily. "Yes. Why did you tell police nobody opened it?" "Because I panicked. And why did you withhold my salary?" "Tayo ordered that you should be removed." "He did not order you to keep wages I had already earned." Bode's voice dropped. "Ronk, what do you want?" "My salary, my name cleared, and a truthful statement." "You think big people will allow you to embarrass them?" She wore an ivory suit with narrow gold edging. Behind her walked 2 Hanseong directors, an independent translator, an engineer, and legal counsel. The Korean delegation stood. Then, several Nigerian officials stood because they understood, at last, who she was. Tayo slowly placed the pen down. "Madam Han." She reached the front and faced the room. "I apologize for interrupting the program. Hanseong Transit Systems has not approved the appendix on this table." A murmur moved through the hall. Kemi stepped forward. "Madam Chairwoman." The appendix was cleared through the agreed procurement channel. Han looked at her. It was altered through the procurement channel. The murmur became louder. Tayo stood. "Altered by whom?" Han turned toward the board chair. Her orange scarf lay across her knees. Her fingers would not stop trembling. Han sat beside her. "You did the correct thing at the yard," she said. Ronke kept looking through the window. "Correct things can still ruin a person." "Yes. My father may see those pictures. He will hear your account from you. Strangers have already decided. Strangers decide quickly because they do not pay the price when they are wrong." Ronke turned toward her. "Will your company issue a statement?" "Not until we verify the test logs and document trail. So I should remain silent while they call me a thief." Han did not soften her answer. "With your permission, the evidence should answer that question." The board chair nodded. The lights dimmed. The giant screen behind the stage changed from the shining image of an electric bus to 2 columns of text. Korean on the left, English on the right. An independent translator stood beside the screen. The Korean master requires a heat-resistant separation layer between battery modules for the approved high-temperature urban configuration, she said. The English appendix presented for signature describes that layer as an optional enhanced safety accessory. A yellow highlight appeared across both sections. The Korean master provides a 7-year performance warranty under stated operating conditions. The English appendix provides 2 years. Another highlight appeared. This stopped being about embarrassment when a safety document was changed. Bode ended the call. Ronke saved the recording in 3 locations. By then, the independent comparison team had reviewed 14 versions of the contract appendix. The file history showed that the Korean master remained consistent. The first English draft also matched it. The language changed after the document entered Blue Harbor's procurement system. A user account assigned to Kemi had modified the warranty term from 7 years to 2. Another user, belonging to the contracted interpreter, had changed mandatory thermal barrier to optional enhanced safety accessory. The edits occurred at 2:13 a.m. on a Sunday. A second trail led to payments. The Korean technical note states that the local alternative assembly was not approved without further validation. That objection does not appear in the English version. Tayo turned toward Kemi. Her face remained controlled. "This is a drafting inconsistency," she said. The commercial team was still harmonizing language. Han's engineer spoke next. "The difference is not stylistic. It changes product configuration, risk allocation, warranty exposure, and testing obligations." Kemi lifted one hand. The prototype test showed only minor overheating during a controlled cycle. The screen changed again. A graph appeared. The engineer pointed to a red line. The approved cycle was increased without written authorization. Module 4 rose beyond the expected thermal curve. Heat transfer accelerated across the unprotected section. Han's lead engineer spoke rapidly in Korean. Ronke translated sentence by sentence. "The supplier specification is not the approved Hanseong configuration. A low-load diagnostic can be performed. No stress cycle until the thermal model is confirmed." Kemi folded her arms. "We have already scheduled media. A basic run will prove there is no issue." Han replied. "Safety does not become less real because cameras are waiting." Tayo looked toward the media team, then toward the bus. Pride fought caution inside him. "We will do only the low-load diagnostic," he said. The engineers agreed reluctantly. The bus powered on at 10:18 a.m. For the first 12 minutes, nothing unusual happened. The vehicle moved through a slow circuit. The test was stopped before damage spread. Tayo's eyes narrowed. Who increased the cycle? The local test log appeared. A message from Kemi's work phone instructed the supervisor to give the media something stronger and proceed to the higher load. Silence fell. Kemi shook her head. "That message is being taken out of context," Han replied. "Then we will include the full context." The screen displayed the complete message thread. "Proceed with higher load." "Engineering has not cleared it, Ma. Do it. We cannot show crawling speed to the press. What if the temperature rises? Cooling will handle it. We need a successful run before tomorrow." Tayo closed his eyes for 1 second. When he opened them, he looked older. A consultancy company, registered 6 months earlier, had invoiced Blue Harbor 463 million naira for localization, supply coordination, and climate adaptation services. Its director was Kemi's cousin. The company had no engineering staff, no warehouse, and no previous transport projects. The local supplier that provided the altered module arrangement shared an office address with the consultancy. Still, evidence of suspicious payments was not the same as proof of criminal guilt. Han's lawyers documented everything and prepared referrals. They did not announce convictions before charges. Ronke respected that. Tayo did not know the full picture yet. Kemi controlled the information reaching him, but the test yard incident had cracked his trust. He requested the raw technical logs. Kemi sent a summary instead. Kemi faced the audience. This is an internal operational discussion. It does not prove fraud. No, Han said. The financial and digital records address that. The next slide showed the file history. The first English translation matched the Korean master. At 2:13 a.m. on a Sunday, the warranty term changed from 7 years to 2 under Kemi's account. 4 minutes later, the mandatory safety wording changed under the interpreter's account. Kemi spoke quickly. My account is used by members of my team. Your account required a one-time security code sent to your personal phone, the board chair said. Kemi looked toward him. He continued. The access was verified through your registered device. The screen changed again. Public denial may protect you emotionally today and damage the investigation tomorrow. Ronka looked away again. It was not the comforting answer. That was why she believed it. At home, her father had already seen the images on a neighbor's phone. He sat at the table when Ronke entered, his face tight with anger. Did you enter the place illegally? No. Did you touch the bus? No. Did you stop something dangerous? I translated an instruction correctly. He nodded. Then his stronger hand struck the table. Why are they calling you a thief? Because it is easier than answering what I heard. He squeezed his face. Give me the phone. I will call that CEO. 463 million naira. Consultancy fee. Localization. Climate adaptation. Supply coordination. The receiving company's registration record appeared beside the invoice. Its director shared a family name and residential address with Kemi's cousin. Photographs showed the company's listed office. One room above, a phone accessory shop. No engineering staff. No testing facility. No transport license. A bank representative leaned toward another and whispered. Kemi's voice rose. Many legitimate firms begin from small offices. Poverty is not evidence of fraud. Ronke felt the words strike the room with bitter irony. Han did not smile. You are correct, she said. Poverty is not evidence of fraud. Neither is wearing a waitress uniform. Several heads turned toward Ronke. Kemi's face hardened. He requested the original Korean appendix. She said Han Seong's lawyers had restricted circulation. He called the official interpreter directly. Did Madam Han instruct us to proceed at the yard? The man hesitated. She gave a general instruction. That is not what I asked. Sir, technical Korean can be interpreted in different ways. Did Ronke translate her correctly? Another pause. On that sentence, yes. Tae leaned back in his office chair. The Blue Harbor logo filled the wall behind him. He had built the company over 13 years. 6 vans had become 311 vehicles, 2 logistics hubs, and a new mobility division. He had slept in depots. He had negotiated loans nobody believed he would repay. Han continued. But altered documents, hidden ownership connections, inconsistent invoices, and a payment trail are evidence that require investigation. Kemi pointed toward Ronke. This entire attack began with a dismissed employee who stole a USB. There it was, her final shield. The screen went dark for 2 seconds, then a photograph appeared. Ronke's locker. The black USB resting on her orange apron. Kemi looked almost relieved. Han addressed the room. The device was found at 10:08 p.m. on the night of the dinner. Madam Williams reported it missing at 9:52. A second image appeared. The master register, 9:41 p.m. Master key released to manager B. Coker, returned at 9:49. A third image appeared. The electronic guest pass log. There was only the hard smell of overheated insulation, the red warning on the monitor, and the knowledge that one wrong switch could have blinded the team to what the battery was doing. The yard stayed silent for several seconds. Then the engineer said in Korean, "The barrier omission allowed abnormal heat transfer. This unit must be shut down and inspected." Ronke translated. Tayo stared at the bus. The cameras had stopped recording. Kemi's face had become rigid. Han turned to Tayo. "The waitress you mocked has now corrected your interpreter twice." Tayo's eyes moved to Ronke. She stood in borrowed safety boots, one hand still clenched at her side. He opened his mouth. No apology came. Kemi Williams entered the staff corridor at 9:42 and exited at 9:48. Kemi's lips parted. Bode sat near the side aisle, shrinking inside his suit. Han looked toward him. "Mr. Coker, please stand." Bode did not move at first. The board chair repeated, "Stand, please." Bode rose. His forehead shone with sweat. "Did you give Madam Williams access to the staff locker area?" Han asked. Bode looked at Kemi. She stared back at him. A warning passed between them. Bode swallowed. "Yes." The hall stirred. "Did you remain with her?" "No." "How long was she alone?" "About 90 seconds." "Did you disclose that fact to police when the USB was found?" He had learned enough Korean to win trust in rooms where Nigerian companies were treated as buyers, not partners. He believed success proved judgment. Now one sentence from a frightened interpreter suggested his judgment had been used against him. Tayo called Kemi into his office. She arrived with her tablet and the confidence she wore like perfume. Why did the interpreter mistranslate Madam Han? He made a mistake. Twice? He was under pressure because Ronke kept interrupting. The warning at the bus was also wrong. The engineer was speaking quickly. Ronke understood him. Kemi's expression hardened. "You are becoming impressed by her." "This is not about being impressed." "Is it not?" Bode looked down. "No. Why?" "I was afraid the restaurant would lose Blue Harbor's account. Did you tell your receptionist that she saw nothing?" "Yes." "Did you withhold Ronke Adebayo's salary after dismissing her?" Bode's voice became almost inaudible. "Yes. On what lawful basis?" He said nothing. Uzo began crying quietly from the witness area. The board chair asked her to come forward. She walked to the front in her lavender dress, holding a printed statement with both hands. Her voice shook during the first sentence. Then it steadied. "I saw Madam Kemi enter the staff corridor before the USB was reported missing." Ronke almost smiled. "And say what?" "I will tell him his suit cannot cover foolishness. That may not help the legal process. It will help my chest." This time she laughed. Then she knelt beside him and rested her forehead against his knee. "I am afraid," she said. He placed his hand on her head. "I know. If this fails, I may never work in hospitality again. Then hospitality will lose somebody good. The rent. We will not solve rent with fear tonight." Ronke closed her eyes. Across town, Uzo watched the same images during her break at Meridian Terrace. Two waiters beside her laughed at the caption. "This Ronke has ambition, oh," one said. "I knew it could help Ronke, but I kept quiet because I was afraid of losing my job, and because I was still paying a cooperative loan. My silence allowed a false accusation to grow." She looked toward Ronke. "I am sorry." Ronke's eyes filled, but she nodded once. Uzo continued. "I later photographed the key register and access log. Those records are the ones shown here." Kemi turned toward Bode. "You are lying to save yourself." Bode's head lifted. "For 1 year. I allowed you to speak to my staff as if they were dogs because your company spent money in that restaurant. I opened that corridor because you ordered me. I lied because I was afraid. She embarrassed you at the restaurant." Now she appears beside Madame Han, and suddenly you are questioning people who have built this company with you. Tayo stood. I am questioning a technical discrepancy, which I have explained. No, you have labeled it. That is not the same thing. Kemi watched him carefully. He continued. Send me the original procurement audit trail. Legal has it. I own this company. You own shares in this company. The board owns governance. The correction struck him. Kemi softened her tone. Tayo, listen. The project is under attack. Madame Han is protecting her company. Ronke is protecting herself. If we delay, Blue Harbor carries the loss. But I did not put that USB inside her locker. Kemi's voice cracked. Neither did I. Han's counsel stepped forward. The USB was examined under documented custody. The files were created before the dinner. The device had never been connected to any computer, phone, or account associated with Ronke Adebayo. Its most recent connection before recovery was to a Blue Harbor procurement laptop assigned to Kemi Williams's office. The room erupted. Journalists raised cameras. Board members spoke over one another. A city official stood and demanded clarification. The master of ceremonies moved away from the stage, no longer pretending the program could continue. Kemi's composure broke. You cannot prove I carried it into that restaurant, she said to confirm the installed module arrangement before any high-load cycle. Han looked at the interpreter. Why did you change my instruction? The man's face tightened. Madam, I summarized. You reversed it. Kemi stepped closer to Tayo. This is becoming unnecessary drama. Tayo looked from the interpreter to Ronke. For the first time, uncertainty entered his face. The engineers opened the battery inspection data. The module arrangement matched the locally altered specification. One required separation layer was absent from the prototype configuration. Tayo rounded on Kemi. You told me it was approved. I said the approval was being processed. You said the configuration met requirements. It meets the local supplier's specification. No criminal conclusion is being announced here, the board chair said. The evidence will be referred to the appropriate authorities. Kemi laughed sharply. So this is a trial now? A waitress hears one conversation, and all of you build a performance around her? Ronke stepped forward. She did not rush. Her amber dress caught the light as she walked down the aisle. The old notebook rested in her hand. She stopped several meters from the stage. I did not ask anybody to build a performance, she said. I asked people to check. Kemi pointed at her. You wanted revenge from the moment Tayo corrected you. Ronke's voice remained low. He did not correct me. He insulted me. We need to sign, release the first payment, and resolve specification details before delivery. Without written engineering approval. The prototype issue was minor. Smoke came from the battery enclosure. It was controlled, because the correct instruction was followed. Kemi's eyes narrowed. Tayo saw it. A brief flash of resentment, not fear, not concern, resentment that he had asked. Send the audit trail by 5, he said. Kemi left without answering. At 4:42 p.m., she accessed the communications server and searched for Ronke's compliance email. The deleted message still existed in the system backup. She requested permanent removal. The Information Technology Administrator refused because of the legal hold. Kemi called him directly. This is an executive instruction. Tayo looked down. Kemi turned to the hall. She is enjoying this. Look at her. One night carrying tea, and now she is standing before executives as if she understands transport contracts. Ronke held up the notebook. I never claimed to be an engineer. I never claimed to be a certified legal translator. When I met the lawyers, I marked the terms I could not confirm. Independent professionals verified them. She looked directly at Kemi. You thought my honesty was weakness. Because your own system depended on people pretending to know what they did not know. Kemi's face twisted. You are still a waitress. The words came out like spit. Ronki nodded. I was a waitress. From serving soup to hijacking electric bus. Uzo did not laugh. She remembered Kemi walking into the locker corridor at 9:43 p.m. She remembered Bode coming out with the master keys. She remembered the USB appearing 25 minutes later. She also remembered staying silent. Her silence had not protected Ronka. It had protected the lie. At 6:10 p.m., after the dinner rush began, Uzo entered the small records room beside Bode's office. She knew the paper key register was kept inside a blue file because reception staff signed it whenever they borrowed the spare storage key. She found the file on the second shelf. The page for the night of the dinner showed a handwritten entry, and when I carried food, I did honest work. The sentence silenced the hall again. She continued. The shame was never in my apron. The shame was in using money and language to treat workers as if they had no mind. The shame was in changing documents, because you believed nobody beneath your title could read them. Kemi opened her mouth. No answer came. Madam Han turned toward Tayo. Mr. Balogun, do you remember what you said at Meridian Terrace? Tayo's shoulders stiffened. Yes. Please translate it for your board. He looked at her. Madam Han, you used Korean because you believed the Nigerian workers could not understand you. Translate your words now. Ma, legal hold overrides deletion. Who issued it? External counsel on behalf of Hanseong. Kemi ended the call. Her control was shrinking. That evening, a stranger sent Ronka an envelope through a dispatch rider. Inside were 6 printed pages from the contract appendix and a note. Post everything tonight. They cannot hide if the public sees it. No sender, no explanation. Ronke photographed the envelope without touching more than the edges. She called Han's lawyer. Do not upload it, he said. I was not planning to. It may contain genuine material, altered material, or tracking markers. Can I bring it? Yes. Keep it sealed inside another bag. Ronki looked at the pages through the plastic. Tayo looked at the rows of employees seated behind the directors. Drivers, receptionists, junior analysts, cleaners, security staff. People who usually entered his meetings only to provide something and leave. He looked at Ronke. Her face held no triumph. That made it worse. Tayo's voice came slowly. I said they should not leave documents near her. Why? Han asked. He swallowed. I said people who smelled of frying oil and unpaid rent could develop long fingers. A painful sound moved through the audience. And her shoes? Han asked. Tayo closed his eyes. I said even poverty was tired of following her. The words sounded uglier in English. Stripped of the foreign language, they had nowhere to hide. Instead, he said, how did she know about this test? Ronke felt something inside her go cold, even now, even after the warning. Kemi seized the opening. That is the question we should be asking. She was found with stolen project data. Now she appears at a restricted yard and interferes with a test. Han's voice sharpened. She is here under my authority. Kemi turned to her. With respect, Madam, you may have been manipulated by a dismissed employee seeking revenge. Ronke looked at Kemi. Was the load increased beyond the approved cycle? She asked. Kemi's eyes flashed. Do not question me. The local test supervisor lowered his head. Tayo saw it. What did you change? Han looked at him for a long moment. You used Korean to measure her dignity. Yet you did not use Korean to read the document carrying your signature. Tayo lowered his head. How could one executive deceive your company? Han continued. Because she was clever. Yes, because systems failed. Yes. But also because you created a culture where people fund titles were believed and people with trays were dismissed. Tayo gripped the back of his chair. The board chair stood. Mr. Balogun, pending a full governance review, you are suspended from executive duties with immediate effect. A gasp moved through the hall. Tayo did not argue. The temptation was real. One upload could turn public anger toward Blue Harbor. One dramatic post could clear her in the eyes of strangers. The blogger would share it. News pages would call. Bode might panic. Tayo might finally feel the shame she had carried. But if the pages were altered, she would become exactly what Kemi claimed. If they were genuine, public release could contaminate interviews and alert other participants. Ronke handed the envelope to counsel the next morning. Do you know who sent it? He asked. No. Why did you not use it? Because I do not want to win with a document I cannot verify. He looked at her for a long moment. Kemi Williams, the chair continued. Your employment and system access are terminated pending referral of the evidence to law enforcement and regulatory authorities. Security will accompany you to collect no personal items today. They will be inventoried and returned through counsel. Kemi stared at him. You cannot do this in public. You prepared to sign a public contract using altered terms. I built this division. You compromised it. Kemi looked toward Tayo. Say something. He raised his head. For years, she had protected deadlines, removed obstacles, and given him victories. He had rewarded results without examining the methods. He had defended her because her confidence resembled his own. Now he saw the cost. 9:41 p.m. Master key released to Manager B. Coker. Purpose VIP privacy inspection returned 9:49 p.m. Kemi had reported the missing USB at 9:52. Uzo photographed the page. Then she checked the digital entrance log at reception. The staff corridor door had recorded Kemi's temporary guest pass at 9:42 and again at 9:48. She photographed that too. Looking for something? Bode's voice came from the doorway. Uzo nearly dropped her phone. He entered and closed the door behind him. Sir, I was checking the key register. I can see. Why did you write privacy inspection? Bode held out his hand. Give me your phone. No. His face changed. Uzo. No, sir. You told me the configuration was approved, he said. I was protecting the project. You hid an engineering objection. I was protecting this company from delay. You changed the warranty. The supplier margin was impossible otherwise. You planted evidence on Ronke. Kemi's face hardened again. You insulted her first. The hall froze. Tayo flinched as if she had struck him. Kemi laughed once, bitterly. Do not stand there like a righteous man. You gave me the weapon. You made sure everybody knew her voice did not matter. I only used the room you created. Security officers approached. Kemi looked around at the cameras, the board, and the employees who had once rushed to open doors for her. Your shift has ended. My shift ends at 10:30. It ended now. Am I suspended? Do not bring grammar to me. Change and wait in my office. Ronke opened her mouth, then closed it. Uzo stood near the reception desk, her eyes wide. What happened? She whispered. Later. Bode pointed toward the staff room. Now Ronke. Ronke walked away. Behind her, the private room door opened. Kemi stepped into the corridor. Manager, she called. Bode straightened at once. Madam, I need a word. They moved several meters away, but not far enough. Kemi kept her voice low. That waitress. What is her full name? Ronke Adebayo. How long has she worked here? Her voice dropped. Poor people are allowed one mistake. Rich people are allowed many. Do not pretend today changed that. Ronke answered before anybody else. You are right about one thing. Systems often forgive the powerful. That is why this must not end with you losing a job. Kemi looked at her. Ronke continued. The money must be traced. The workers you damaged must be repaired. The procurement process must change. Otherwise, they will remove your name and keep your method. Even Han turned to look at her. Security escorted Kemi from the hall. She did not cry. She did not beg. Her heels struck the floor, with the same sharp sound they had made at Meridian Terrace. Ronke added, "I want the truth to stand even when I am not in the room." The lawyer wrote the sentence down. The pages were later confirmed as genuine but incomplete. They had come from a Blue Harbor employee who feared being identified. The legal team preserved them, but did not rely on them alone. 3 days before the rescheduled contract ceremony, the independent engineers issued a preliminary report. The altered configuration could not be accepted as equivalent to the approved one. The missing barrier increased the risk of heat moving between modules under certain high-load conditions. The prototype test did not prove that a public fire would occur. It proved that the change required new validation before deployment. The difference mattered. Only now, nobody moved aside to honor her. The board chair announced that the contract signing was cancelled pending a fresh technical and financial review. The banks froze the disputed payment release. Hanseong agreed to retain the broader partnership only if independent validation, bilingual review, and governance reforms were implemented. The journalists began shouting questions. Tayo removed his Blue Harbor executive badge. He placed it on the table beside the unsigned contract. Then he walked toward Ronke. Every camera followed him. He stopped in front of her. "I am sorry," he said. Ronke looked at him. The room waited for the easy ending. For forgiveness. For a handshake. For a photograph that would clean everybody's reputation. Ronke did not give them one, Brakes responded. Steering past, cabin systems remained stable. Tayo began to relax. Kemi whispered something to the local test supervisor. The next cycle increased the simulated passenger load and cooling demand beyond what had been approved. Ronke did not know that. The Korean engineer did. At 10:34, he pointed at the temperature display and spoke sharply. "Module 4 is rising too fast. Isolate the auxiliary battery branch. Stop the load cycle." The official interpreter shouted in English, "Switch off the main power and continue auxiliary cooling." The local technician reached for the main isolation control. Ronke's stomach dropped. "No," her voice cut across the yard. Everybody froze. She moved toward the control line, but stopped outside the marked safety boundary. "Sorry cannot return the night's strangers called me a thief," she said. "It cannot return the salary your decision allowed them to withhold. It cannot erase the fear in my father's house." Tayo's face tightened. "I know. No, sir. You are beginning to know." He accepted the correction. Ronke continued. "If you are truly sorry, do not ask me to make you feel forgiven today. Repair the system that made your insult more believable than my truth." Tayo nodded. "What should be repaired?" "Do not ask only me. Ask the drivers, cleaners, receptionists, junior staff, and people whose complaints never reached you. Then put rules behind the apology." Ronke insisted on it. "We should not say 73 buses would catch fire," she told Han's counsel. "The report does not say that. What does it support? That Blue Harbor was about to buy 73 buses that did not match the approved safety configuration or the warranty they were promised." "Correct. And that the trial produced abnormal heat transfer." "Correct. And that somebody hid the objection." "The audit supports that conclusion." Ronke nodded. Facts were less dramatic than rumors. They were also stronger. 14 hours before the signing ceremony, Han Seo-yeon received the complete preliminary package. It included the bilingual comparison, file metadata, payment trail, test logs, key register, guest pass access record, Ronke's original notes, Uzo's statement, Bode's recorded admission, and the compliance email Kemi had deleted. For the first time since the story began, Tayo listened without preparing a reply. 3 weeks later, Meridian Terrace paid Ronke every naira of the salary it had withheld, plus compensation agreed through mediation. The restaurant withdrew the misconduct notice and sent written corrections to the businesses that had received Bode's warning. Bode was removed as manager. He did not go to prison because cowardice was not automatically a criminal conviction. But he lost the position he had protected by sacrificing Ronke. As part of the settlement, he gave a complete statement about the locker access and helped develop a rule that no guest, executive, or manager could open a worker's locker without written authorization, 2 witnesses, and a documented inventory. You want to lose your job because of Ronke? She lost her job because we kept quiet. We did not put anything inside her locker. Uzo stared at him. We? Bode's lips tightened. She stepped back. You opened it for Kemi. She said she needed to confirm whether staff had copied guest information. And you left her alone there, only for 1 minute. Then she planted it. You cannot prove that, but you knew she entered before it was found. Bode lowered his voice. Listen to me. Blue Harbor spends more than 30 million naira here every year. If I accuse their chief operating officer without proof, this restaurant could lose the account. He also faced the staff he had silenced. At the meeting, he stood without a tie. I thought protecting the restaurant meant protecting the biggest customer, he said. I was wrong. A business that survives by destroying one innocent worker is already failing. Some employees accepted his apology. Others did not. He was not entitled to their forgiveness. Uzo remained at Meridian Terrace. 2 months later, the owners promoted her to service supervisor after she helped establish an anonymous reporting channel and staff witness policy. On her first day in the new role, she called Ronke. I still feel guilty. You should remember, Ronke said, but do not turn guilt into another kind of silence. I will not. Han called an emergency meeting of Hanseong's project committee. She also contacted Blue Harbor's independent board chair. By 9:20 p.m., 3 board members knew. By 10:05, the event venue was instructed to add a secure presentation feed. By 10:37, legal observers were scheduled to attend. Kemi received no warning. Tayo received only a message stating that Madam Han would make a technical clarification before signature. He called her at 11:02. Madam Han, is there a problem that I should know about? Yes, she said. What problem? You will see the evidence tomorrow. I am the CEO. I should not be surprised in front of my board. Han's voice remained calm. And when somebody junior tells you something uncomfortable, I will check before I dismiss it. Good. Uzo smiled through the phone. You sound like old woman now. Respect yourself. They laughed. The legal process against Kemi moved more slowly than social media expected. Investigators interviewed staff, reviewed payments, examined company ownership records, and traced devices. The interpreter's contract was terminated, and his professional conduct was referred to the relevant body. Accounts linked to the consultancy were restricted, while the source and purpose of funds were examined. 2 months after the public exposure, formal charges were filed relating to document falsification, procurement fraud, obstruction of investigation, and the planted USB evidence. He asked. Nothing unsafe. That is not an answer. The Korean engineer requested the test logs. A technician downloaded them to a secured drive. Han instructed her legal team to preserve a copy. Kemi stepped away and pulled out her phone. By 11:12 a.m., 3 edited photographs had been sent anonymously to a transport industry blog. They showed Ronke near the bus, pointing toward the controls. The caption claimed a former waitress accused of data theft had entered Blue Harbor's restricted test yard and disrupted a ₦1 billion project. By 12:03, the images were circulating online. By 12:41, somebody had added Ronke's old staff photograph from Meridian Terrace. By 1:17, strangers were calling her a thief. No judge delivered instant punishment in a conference hall. No prison door closed the same afternoon. The case entered the slow machinery of law, where allegations had to be proved and every accused person had the right to answer. That did not weaken justice. It made it real. Blue Harbor's board completed its governance review after 11 weeks. Tayo's executive suspension remained in place. His annual performance bonus was cancelled. A portion already approved was redirected, through a board-supervised settlement, toward worker compensation, independent safety review, and language access controls. He was required to attend listening sessions with employees from every level of the company. The first session included drivers, cleaners, dispatch coordinators, reception staff, and junior analysts. At the beginning, nobody spoke. A good CEO should not be surprised by documents generated inside his own company. The line went quiet. Tayo looked across his dark office. For the first time in many years, the title on his door did not feel like power. It felt like a question. At 6:15 the next morning, Ronke woke before her alarm. She stood in front of the small mirror and put on an amber-orange midi dress beneath a cream jacket. The dress was not new. Yuzo had lent it to her after insisting that Ronke should not walk into a hall full of people wearing clothes that reminded her of the worst night of her life. Her shoes were different. Tayo sat without assistance, without a stage, and without his cobalt suit. He wore a plain white shirt and dark trousers. Finally, a cleaner raised her hand. "Sir, when executives pass us, some do not greet." Tayo nodded. "I have done that." A driver spoke next. "When we report brake issues, supervisors call us lazy because they want vehicles on the road." A receptionist said, "People shout at us because they know our jobs are easy to replace." A junior analyst said, "We adjust reports because managers punish bad news." Tayo wrote until his wrist hurt. At the end, he said, "I thought results made a culture strong. People could lose jobs. So you chose one person to lose everything. I chose the business." Uzo's eyes filled. "No, sir. You chose the powerful person because you thought the poor person had nobody." Bode's jaw worked. "Delete those pictures." "No. I will suspend you. Then write it down." Uzo moved around him and opened the door. Bode grabbed her wrist. She looked at his hand. He released her at once. Uzo walked out, heart pounding so hard she could hear it. At 6:27, she sent the photographs to Ronke with one sentence. "I am sorry I kept quiet." Kemi entered before the USB was reported missing. Ronke saw the message at 7:03. "I did not understand that fear can also produce results for a while." The cleaner looked at him. "Sir, understanding is good. What will change?" That question became the measure. Blue Harbor introduced an independent safety hotline. Any employee could stop a vehicle test without punishment when a documented risk appeared. Procurement approvals were separated among technical, financial, and compliance teams. No single executive could control translation, supplier selection, and payment authorization. All bilingual contracts required certified translation, reverse translation, and line-by-line technical sign-off. Complaints involving senior executives bypassed management and went to an external channel. The rules were not perfect. Rules never are. But they made abuse more difficult to hide. 6 months after the conference, Tayo remained outside executive management. Simple black flats bought from a market stall, With money Han's legal team had paid for her language support work. They were not expensive. They did not need to be. Her father watched from the doorway. "You look like somebody going to collect debt." Ronke smiled nervously. "Maybe I am. Do not shout. I will not. Do not insult them. I will not. Do not allow them to insult you." Ronk met his eyes in the mirror. "I will not," he nodded. Then he held out her old notebook. "You forgot this." Ronk took it. The page with the time 8:24 p.m. had become the first stone in a road nobody expected her to build. The board allowed him to serve only as a non-operating advisor while shareholders decided his long-term role. He had lost control of the company he founded. He had also lost the easy belief that building something gave him the right to stop listening inside it. Ronke used part of her compensation to pay the rent arrears and restore her father's medication schedule. She used another part to complete a commercial language certification program. Madame Han offered to sponsor the full cost. Ronke accepted only after the support was documented through an existing professional development fund available to other candidates. "I do not want anybody to say I received a secret reward for testimony," she explained. Han smiled. "You make generosity difficult. A safety requirement becoming optional is not punctuation." The yard went quiet. Tayo turned toward Kemi. "What does she mean?" Kemi smiled carefully. "The Korean technical team prefers the premium barrier package. Our local configuration meets baseline requirements. Do we have written approval?" "The approval is being processed." Han spoke in Korean to one of her engineers. Ronk listened. "Confirm the installed module arrangement before any high-load cycle." The official interpreter began translating. "She says the bus can begin standard testing while documentation is reviewed." Ronke's head turned sharply. That is not what she said. Every face turned toward her. The interpreter frowned. "Excuse me," Ronke repeated Han's words in English. "I make it clear. Sometimes those are the same thing." Ronke studied contract terminology, ethics, quality control procedures, and translation risk. She failed one technical module on her first attempt. That failure embarrassed her. Then it freed her. She was not a miracle. She was a woman learning a profession. She took the module again and passed with 78%. 9 months after the night at Meridian Terrace, an independent transport safety organization advertised for a language compliance officer. The position required Korean English proficiency, documentation skills, and experience identifying communication risk. Ronke applied. She sat through 2 interviews, a written test, and a blind translation exercise. Han provided a reference but did not sit on the hiring panel. Tayo had no involvement. She placed the notebook inside her bag. At 8:40 a.m., vehicles began arriving at the Eco-Atlantic Conference Center. Journalists set up cameras. City transport officials checked the program. Bank representatives reviewed funding schedules. Blue Harbor staff wore matching badges. Hanseong delegates moved through security with document cases. At 9:12, Kemi entered in an emerald green suit. She smiled for photographs. At 9:18, Tayo arrived in cobalt blue. He did not smile as easily. At 9:26, Ronke entered through a side door with Han's legal team. Uzo waited near the witness room in a lavender dress, twisting a tissue between her fingers. Bode arrived under formal summons from Meridian Terrace's owners. His tie sat crooked. Sweat marked his forehead. Ronke received the offer on a Tuesday afternoon, while helping her father with his physiotherapy exercises. She read the email twice. Then a third time. Her father watched her face. "Good news?" She handed him the phone. His eyes moved slowly over the message. When he reached the salary, he looked up. "Are they sure?" Ronke laughed. "Daddy, I am asking because this money has too many numbers. They are sure. He stood with help from the table and pulled her into an awkward embrace. His weak hand could not close fully around her back. It was enough. The 73 bus project did not disappear. After fresh validation, corrected warranties, and a new procurement process, the partnership resumed. For a full minute, she could not move. Then she called Uzo. Are you safe for now? Do not send the files to anybody else. Keep the originals. Email them to yourself. Take a video showing the whole register, not only one page, so nobody says it was edited. Uzo breathed out. You are not angry with me. I am. The honesty surprised both of them, Ronka continued. You saw what could have helped me and said nothing. I was afraid. I know. But fear does not remove the damage. Uzo began to cry quietly. I am sorry, then help repair it. How? The buses were configured with approved safety protections and independently inspected before shipment. The first vehicle entered public service almost 1 year later than planned. The delay cost money. It also prevented a much larger cost from being hidden inside a rushed signature. 1 year after the dinner, Meridian Terrace hosted a workplace dignity training program for hospitality and corporate managers. Ronke was invited to speak about language, status, and reporting systems. She returned through the same glass doors where she had once left, without salary, umbrella, or name. The restaurant had changed some furniture. The orchids were different. The lagoon still reflected the city in broken lines. Ronke wore a burnt orange dress and carried no tray. Uzo met her at reception. When he saw Ronke, he stopped. She looked at him. Neither spoke. At 9:55, 5 minutes before the ceremony, Kemi noticed Ronke standing beside the rear wall of the main hall. Her smile vanished. She crossed the room quickly. What are you doing here? Ronke answered softly. Listening. You think Madame Han can protect you forever? I do not need forever. Kemi leaned closer. You have no idea how these rooms work. Today they may use you to attack me. Tomorrow they will remember you are still a waitress. Ronke held her gaze. I stopped being your waitress the night you entered my locker. Kemi's breath caught. Only for a second. My Madam Compliance Officer, she said, hugging her. Do not start. Should I bow? I will go home. They laughed. Bode was not there. He had taken work at a smaller catering company after several months without employment. Once, he had sent Ronke a message thanking her for refusing to lie about his role. She had replied with 2 words. Do better. Tayo attended the training as part of Blue Harbor's advisory delegation. He stood near the back of the restaurant, no longer surrounded by assistants. During the tea break, a newly hired waitress approached a table of executives. She looked nervous. Her hands shook against the saucer. A spoon slipped. It struck the floor. The young woman froze, and by 2:06, the blogger who had offered her money sent another message from a new account. You should have taken my deal. Now they are telling the story for you. The first call came from an unknown woman who shouted before Ronke could say hello. You poor people are becoming too bold. You stole company files and now you want to spoil a national project? The woman ended the call. The second caller asked whether Ronke wanted to sell the USB. The third said nothing. He breathed into the phone for 11 seconds, then disconnected. Ronke switched off the device. She sat in the back seat of Han's legal team vehicle, while Lagos moved outside the tinted window. One executive squeezed his face. Before he could speak, Ronke bent to pick up the spoon. Tayo bent at the same time. Their hands stopped above it. For 1 second, the old private room returned between them. The insult, the laughter, the cracked shoes, the silence after Korean words became English truth. Tayo picked up the spoon and handed it to the waitress. No problem, he said. Please bring another when you can. The waitress breathed again. No camera captured the moment. Nobody applauded. That was what made it matter. Ronke looked at Tayo. He did not ask whether she had forgiven him. He did not use the small act as evidence that he had become a good man. Then the master of ceremonies announced that everyone should take their seats. The doors closed. The signing table waited beneath the giant Blue Harbor logo. 2 pens rested on white velvet. And somewhere behind the stage, a screen held enough evidence to remove every smile from the room. At 10:03 a.m., the master of ceremonies welcomed the guests and described the partnership as a new dawn for sustainable transport in Nigeria. The words traveled through the hall with polished confidence. A new dawn, a cleaner Lagos, 73 buses, 18.7 billion naira. Tayo sat at the center of the stage with Kemi 2 seats behind him. On his right were board members and finance partners. He simply stepped aside and allowed the waitress to continue her work with dignity. Later, during her talk, Ronke stood before managers, executives, servers, drivers, and students. She did not begin with Kemi's fraud, she began with the teacup. A person spoke about me in a language he believed I could not understand, she said. That mistake exposed more than his words. It exposed a system where clothing decided credibility. She looked across the room. A uniform tells you what duty somebody is performing at that moment. It does not tell you the full size of their mind. Poverty is not evidence of dishonesty. Wealth is not evidence of wisdom, and fluency is not permission to humiliate. The room remained silent. Tell the truth in a place where it can be recorded. The next morning, Uzo gave a formal statement to Han's local council. She provided the images, the timestamps, and a screen recording of the access log. The legal team issued a preservation request to Meridian Terrace before Bode could alter the records. Bode received the notice at 10:14 a.m. He called Ronke at 10:19. She answered with the recording function activated after the standard notification. "You sent lawyers to my workplace," he demanded. "They sent a records request. You want to destroy me. I want the truth about my locker." "I did not plant anything, then say who entered it," Ronke continued. "When somebody with little power reports a problem, do not first ask whether they look important enough to be right. Ask whether the facts can be checked. Respect is not charity. It is a control against blindness." Madame Han sat in the front row. Uzo stood near the doorway. Tayo listened from the back. Ronke closed her notebook. "According to the way I see this story, the most dangerous thing was not that Tayo used Korean to insult a waitress he believed could not understand. The most dangerous thing was that he had trained himself to believe a woman carrying a tray had nothing worth hearing. A foreign language can hide cruelty for a few minutes. On his left sat Hanxiong representatives, though Madame Han's chair remained empty. Kemi glanced at the empty seat and relaxed slightly. The master of ceremonies continued. "Before the formal signing, Mr. Tayo Balagun will address us." Applause rose. Tayo approached the lectern. He looked every inch the man newspapers had celebrated. Cobalt suit, white shirt, calm face. A silver watch catching the light. But the folder in his hand trembled once before he opened it. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began. 13 years ago, Blue Harbor started with 6 delivery vans, 1 rented office, and a belief that Nigerian companies could build world-class systems. Today, we stand ready to enter a new era. He spoke about jobs, cleaner air, local assembly, and modern cities. Money can hide it for years. A title can make people afraid to name it. But character always translates itself. And dignity does not need a certificate, a suit, or a large bank account before it deserves respect. He said isolate the auxiliary battery branch and stop the load cycle. Not the main power. The interpreter pointed at her. You are not technical staff. I am translating his instruction. Tayo snapped. Ronk, keep quiet. You are creating confusion. The Korean engineer raised his voice and repeated himself. Ronka translated again. Auxiliary branch. Stop the load. Keep the main monitoring system active. Han confirmed in English. She is correct. The technician changed direction and isolated the auxiliary branch. The load cycle stopped. Cooling remained active. A thin line of gray smoke appeared near one vent, then reduced as the temperature stabilized. No explosion came. No dramatic fireball tore through the yard.